Witchers! Welcome back to the Witcher Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots. I'm here with Toasty, and today we are dissecting the latest Witcher Blood Origin trailer, because there's a bunch of goodies in there. And Toasty, as usual, has his corkboard with his pins and his string, and he's deciphering languages that nobody else knows. Toasty, are you excited for this?
Yeah. I haven't deciphered languages yet, but I'm going to start working on it. There's a lot of language in this one. This is going to take some work.
Yeah, that's on the to-do list. But we're going to give you a overview of the trailer. We're going to go through it piece by piece, and we're going to point out some of the things that you may have missed. So that's where we're going to start. And then maybe on the next episode, we'll dig a little bit more into translations and some other secrets that we can uncover. But you got to start somewhere. Also, Toasty, I noticed that we had, at the end of this trailer, a cameo from everybody's favorite bard. That was exciting. How'd you feel about that? I'm talking about Jaskier.
No, I know. Okay. I was trying to think of another bard that I could bring up that, but I was like, can't think of any. At first I was like, wait, what the hell? And then I was like, oh, well, his storyteller, he tells the stories. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes sense.
Maybe. Yeah. So we'll take a look at it. We'll get a sense of is he telling the story? Does he show up in the story? We'll take a look and try to figure that out. But why don't we kick this off and get this started here? I'm pulling it up on screen. So if you are on the audio version of the show, then we will be trying to describe this in detail. We're going to play the clip. You'll hear the audio from the actual clip, and then we're going to describe what happens and those kinds of things in detail. If you're watching on the video, you'll have the clip in front of you. So it'll be easy. Here we go.
It all began 1,200 years ago, in the Elven Golden Era, before the arrival of humans and monsters in the world.
All right, first pause. I'm pausing in there. There's already a lot on the screen, a lot of stuff that's going on. Toasty, let's start with the three characters at the beginning. We've seen them before, right?
Yeah. So this is our presumed three main characters, essentially. The people we've seen the most of at this point. I don't remember their names except for Michelle Yeoh's character, who's Sion, I think. That's how it's pronounced anyways. But yeah, essentially they're walking away from a tent. I noticed that it's you see an aerial shot of the tent and it looks kind of intact, and then behind them, whenever they're walking away, it looks completely destroyed. So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be the same thing or a different thing.
Yeah. So we've got are you talking about the pan over on right at the beginning? Yeah, there's a tent on fire, right?
Yeah, and it looks like it's mostly intact, right? And they're walking out of it. And then behind them, the tent's gone. The tent does not exist anymore when they're walking away from it.
Yeah, they're we're done here.
All right, that tent burned fast, I guess.
I also think looking at this screen right here where I've got it up on the screen, you look at the size of the flames. The flames actually look fairly small compared to the height of the tent, which makes me think that this is actually a very large tent. This isn't a small, one or two person thing. And looking at it from the top down, look at the objects on the ground around it. This looks like it's actually a fairly large structure. So yeah, they're burning something. Now, they seem kind of their faces on this look like, hey, we got a job to do. Let's go. Is this not their tent? Is that what you think?
It seems like they just
or they were burning where they were from so nobody could get the stuff, and then they're leaving. They were deciding. I don't know. I don't understand the context of it yet, but I'm curious.
Yeah, of course we don't have any context for this, with it being as, I guess it's a sort of original story. So right. We don't have info. We can't look back on the lore and be like, hey, this is what this is about. We know that there's going to be certain details in it from stuff we know, But as far as like the main thing, nope.
Yeah, this is this is the Netflix writers doing their own thing, basing it in the world that we already understand. So we even get stuff like this scene right here where we see a port city, and they say the line, "It all began 1,200 years ago."
Mm-hmm.
And
before
talk about that time frame, 1,200 years.
All right, so and we get it from like the narration bit or whatever. And I will say this out because you're going to hear it in segments a bunch. But the whole narration bit at the beginning is, it all began 1,200 years ago in the Elven Golden Era, before the arrival of humans and monsters in the world. 7 warriors, outcasts, strangers to each other, bound together to fight an unstoppable empire. 1,200 years ago is before. This is before elves started. Before humans. Before the conjunction of the spheres.
Right. And everybody's an elf. This is another thing I noticed in it too. Like
there's like the dwarves and stuff. There's some
right, but like all the main characters, this seems to be very rooted in the elven world. The elves are the main race here. They're the ones who we're following. All of the main characters are elves. Everybody's got pointed ears, and there's no humans to be seen at all.
Nope, none. We're seeing this at a time period like way back when the elves are kind of controlling everything. Right. So, and now I'm assuming you're still on that shot. My bad. I have to jump back and forth. So.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'm on the shot of the guy, what looks like the leader, the king, standing there in front of them.
Okay. So if you take it back to that shot over the city, I want to talk about that. Because there's the first shot of the city. Yeah. So obviously we know this is the continent. And we're going to see a map later that kind of shows us generally where like stuff is, but it's like, basing it off of that. But this first city that was like interesting. And I was like, can I try to figure out where this is based on like the geography that we already know? And I was like kind of looking at it. At first, if you're not looking close, it looks coastal.
It looks like a Novigrad or a place like that, like from the games, right? But it's not.
Yeah, but in the background of it, you can see that it like curves, like the land curves around at the back. So it's not like, it doesn't lead straight out into open water. It's like either a gulf or like a lake. There's a little bit of a part that's really blurred that's like hard to see. So, I was looking and I was trying to figure this out. And of course we see the river flows in from the mountains. That also helps to like kind of narrow down based on like the prominent rivers in the continent or current continent. And so my guesses bring me down to, if it's a lake, then like Old Vitsima.
Okay. That's a very big lake if it's a lake.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's big, but like there's land on the other side of it, so it's like hard. Like it's either that or it's a gulf that curves around, and then there's a narrow opening, which that also. And the map is going to contradict me, but my other guess there was Lan Exeter up in Kovir and Povis area, because that part of the map they have Lan Exeter is on like a coast or in a gulf. And the gulf like curves around to spit out. I'm curious to see exactly where this will end up being, because of obviously with the rest of the trailer, this is not the main city. This is a city, and they showed us this for a reason. And like I have a tertiary guess that I'm pretty sure it's not, but it's like I feel like it'd be remiss if they didn't show us this place, and that's Loch Muin. Because you know that the elves took it from the Werebubs. I feel like they have to show us that at some point, right? Like it's like a big, prominent elven city that people know about. So
yeah, okay, all right. Well, here we'll play a little bit more. You tell me when to pause, because you've got all the all the details on this. So
geez.
when we get a little bit further, or I'll just pause it and you tell me if we want me to go a
pause it
little
on
bit more.
the golden guy in the next part. Then
All right.
Years
So,
ago.
all right. Well, oops. Got to pull it up on the screen. Here we go. The golden guy right here. Right. And the audio here, I'll replay it.
1,200 years ago, in the Elven Golden Era, before the arrival of humans and monsters in the world.
All right. So do you want to talk about the guy?
yeah. Well, not particularly the guy. The guy is not the thing that's drawing my attention here. The thing that's drawing me is the symbol on his like armor, because
On
we're
his
going to see
chest.
that a lot.
Right. So it's like a triangle with 3 spheres on the midpoints of each segment of the triangle, with what looks like a cube in the center with maybe a flower in the cube.
It's like a flower or a leaf or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like this is like obviously one of like the big empire, kingdom, ruler something here. We're gonna see, and he can kind of like replay through this part, because this little segment, these couple few frames we see here, with that guy and that symbol and seeing what that's going to be. And then it moves on quickly to what I believe to be Old Sintra, the other city that we're seeing.
The building looks like Aretusa in the show.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it
It's, like,
is,
not
but it
as-
looks very similar in the architecture.
Yeah. The reason, because it like the way that the layout of the city sits just reminds me of Sintra. And we know that like this stuff is going to include like Lara Doran in it. So of course they got to, they're going to have to show us like Zintria, as the elves call it. But
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then there's a scene where we get to a map. So it shows the city and then it shows a map, and it's upside down to us. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
You think
the
it's right
top
side
part
up?
of the map
Okay.
is where like Kovir Povis is.
Okay. Because
on
the
top part of the
person
map.
in the scene is standing at the top of the map, which made me wonder, like, are they looking at it upside down, or are we looking at it upside down? You think, like, I guess the coastline makes
They're
sense to
looking
be on
at
the
it
left side.
upside down. Yeah,
Right.
because of the coastline, it shows there.
Right.
So we see what looks like 3 different empires, possibly 4. With I don't know if the right side of the map is just undiscovered or if that's another faction in play. It looks like there's a symbol there that might represent, because each one of these has like a symbol. So the middle portion, it looks to be like whoever that kingdom is that has like that triangle with like the leaf or the flower in the center of
Right.
it.
The one that we saw the leader guy from. You
Yeah,
think that
and then-
this is associated with him.
Yeah, and then the north one, that guy. And then the north one, I am not sure. We see like a weird little like emblem there at the top left corner. I thought what was funny about the one to the south is that if you look at like the left portion of that little like part of land, it looks like there's like a little black sun there, which.
Yeah.
We know that Nilfgaardians ain't going to be around for a while, but it's a similar symbol. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is, and it's south from the other areas. So yeah, that is it. That is interesting. So where do you think this is on the continent?
So I think that this is the whole, like,
This is the whole continent.
because the way it stretches out at the top is reminiscent of like how Kovir Povis is set up or whatever. And then I think like the yellow part is like
Similar to
either
the
that or
northern
it's a
kingdoms.
smaller. It's either that or really shrunk down, and it's a part that's jutting out. But like I know that the yellow part, like Sintra's in there, like kind of where the symbol is under that like white pencil thing. Is basically that. I think that where that symbol is, that's Sintra, like the city of Sintra.
Right. So the islands off to the west are Skellige. potentially, or is Skellige not even on here?
Skellige is like further out,
way further out. Okay, so we're a little bit more zoomed in.
Like little clusters of islands over there, like the Isle of Thanet or whatever.
Okay, yeah, this feels like it's kind of a. So now that you've kind of laid that out, it feels to me like this is a zoomed in section around Cintra, and then some of the areas north and south of Cintra, which are some of the same lands that we're seeing a lot in the Witcher show already. We don't have. I don't know if this map goes far enough to like Kaer Morhen. I think that's the mountain line right there that separates that part of the map out.
Yeah, I don't think it's the whole encompassing thing. It's like just like kind of like shrunk down on like the coastal part. Yeah. So it's a little hard to tell because, of course, no map is going to line up exactly with like other maps. And like my biggest, like the one I reference the most is like that really detailed one because it's like that people put together. So
it's also 1,200 years in the past before the conjunction, and who knows if some of the land masses got shifted or something due to magical forces or
geological forces need to take their place too. So
sure, like we don't really know. Okay, well here, let's move on from the map. Here, I'm going to play the next section. Pull it up.
And monsters in the world.
I've taken control of the entire continent. Faced with chaos, the people will always choose order, no matter the cost.
All right, so we've got creepy looking dude here. I mean, it's maybe not creepy, but like powerful looking dude. Maybe that's the best way to say it. This guy with the staff. Yeah. So we've got like this bearded elf guy with a staff and kind of shaved sides of his head with like some golden necklace thing. And he's talking about having taken over the continent, and then you have an army marching, then you have the slamming down of like a knife on a table, and kind of this bar fight kind of scene between.
It's like a guard bashing the dude's head into a table.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's breaking up a bar fight so much as he's abusing the patrons because they're not doing what he wants or something like that.
Yeah. So, obviously, it's like a lot of this information's, we don't have anything to like base any context off, but we can tell, like we see throughout the thing, he's obviously a mage, a magic wielder. And so, which would create, we know it's their own universe, right? But like, so, begs the question, with the conjunction brought around magic, how are they using magic? But, we're not going to touch that because we know.
We knew there was some magic before then. It just wasn't as potent. Or
I guess we'll find out how this is. But it's, but he's a mage and he's presumably the main antagonist. It seems like the way he is in the trailer that he is the bad guy.
You think he's this is the bad guy. Like this, put him back on the screen here. This is the bad guy. And he has something to do with this kingdom that is ruling over the continent, that's marching these armies around, that's telling the commoners what to do. All of that.
There's also a volcano in the background there that I just noticed. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Of this. Yeah, you're right. There is a volcano.
Yeah. And it looks like I think he's part of a different place than like our Gold Leaf faction. I'm just going to call them factions.
So the king at the beginning is a different faction from this guy, is what you're saying.
I believe so, because it looks like he and like the troops that he has are like toting around a different symbol, which is kind of like a weird, like curved, like insignia. I think I drew it because it was hard to explain what it was exactly. Oh wait, this is the wrong thing. No, jeez.
Where did you put it? Where did you put it?
In here. It's like hard to see, and I messed it up because I looked at it closer later. This one.
So it's like a 3-pronged S kind of shape.
Yeah,
right.
And it's got like little like stabby like forks at the end. So it looks like his troops have that symbol on them, and he's in like a location later with that symbol. So makes me think two different factions here at play, and probably the main ones at play, other than our warriors.
Right, which seems to be alluded to by the map, because you've got kind of a main yellow section of the map and then another kind of greenish gray section. So maybe these are the two main groups here, and one of them is taking over the continent or something like that.
Essentially, our bad guy says that he has taken over the entire continent. So I don't know if this is something that'll we'll see this in this series. Like it starts out not that way, but then he takes over, or not. How they're gonna how that's gonna be, because all these clips are gonna be randomly selected from different parts of the series. So
right, we're gonna get jumps around in the timeline. A lot of times these series will give you even just these montages of this is the way the world was and here we are now, that kind of thing. So it very well could be. So here, let's move on with the next section. This we've got the beating up of these guys, and then it moves on to what looks like our main squad of characters.
7 warriors, outcasts, strangers to each other, bound together to fight an unstoppable empire.
This is the future.
All right, so before we get on to fight an unstoppable empire, and again, it shows us the staved, robed, sinister-looking magic guy. We'll call him Sinister Guy, and he's got 2 women standing next to him. I don't know if that represents a wife and a daughter, and they seem to be standing up on some sort of stage in front of probably a crowd of people or something.
Yeah, it looks like his name. The character's name might be Chief, but no, that doesn't seem right. Chief David Baylor? What?
No.
His name's David? That seems weird.
That seems weird. That doesn't feel right.
Who really knows?
But we have the 7 companions. So this is a story of 7 companions coming together to fight some sort of terrible evil, right?
Yep.
And we have this mix mash group, right? This is pretty tropey, but of course it's still fun, right? You've got I don't know. We've got everybody marching around here, and then you have the main what seems to be female elven character who shows up at the beginning with the 3 of them. The 3 of them seem to be the main 3 characters, and she might be the lead protagonist potentially. Yeah. It seems that way, right? So we have her, and she's got some symbols on her forehead, and she's elven ears. And then we have another woman.
Is her name Cian is the character's name.
So
the
that's
next
Cian,
one,
right? And then
the one with the symbols and stuff is Cian,
right? And then we have another female character wearing a hood, no symbols on her head. So
her name's Isla, or Ayla with an accent over it. Ile.
Yella?
Ayla, maybe.
Ayla, maybe.
Ayla.
Yeah. And she's got. You can't really see much about her because she's in this robe with a hood in this specific picture. And then we end up with the male elf from the beginning, who's this bearded elf. He looks kind of like the tough guy of the group.
Fial is his name.
That's Fial. And then we have this little dwarven lady.
I'm excited about this dwarven lady.
Oh my God. She seems freaking like awesome. Time. Yes, she's got these bright blue eyes. She's got blood on her face and a big old hammer. She looks like a good time. Absolutely.
She's just having a good time, just murdering people. And
right.
I was like, heck yeah, dude.
Bunch of dead soldiers. These soldiers are in the same armor as the group that we saw at the beginning. Right? So, and then we have another guy with shaved sides of his head and a beard. But this elf man has part of his ear torn off or bitten off or something.
Yeah, it's torn, or they're cut. It's kind of not even kind of. It's unnerving. The way he's either he's been through stuff or whatever.
Well, he has a scar next to his head, right next to the ear. Maybe that was part of an animal attack that took off part of his ear and got the side of his head, or it doesn't look like his ears were clipped or something by people.
Yeah. His name is Brother Death, by the way.
Brother Death. Wonderful.
Brother Death.
Brother Death. All right. Any other thoughts on these guys before we move on?
It's again.
Oh, there's a few more. I'm sorry. There's a few more.
There's a couple of them.
There's another bearded elf with kind of taller, poofy hair, and he's wearing white clothes. And then based
on what we see from this guy, he appears to also be a mage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He's got like earrings in his ear, but we don't get a whole lot in this specific scene.
We don't see much of him in here, but like there's a thing later where he's like using magic. So
yeah, the next scene we have, I think she's the last of the party. This long-haired, almost white-haired elven lady with these like a white gown and some sort of shawl on with like flowers on it. Do you know her name?
I believe it's hard to tell. I like looked over and over and over again, like between the images or whatever. I think this is the same woman who played like Laura Dorn in the old thing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is Laura Dorn.
I believe it's her. It looks like the same actress.
Okay, so I mean, she looks similar, but I wasn't sure because I haven't looked back and forth.
It's like hard to tell, but we see white hair. It's also hair. Like,
right?
What does white hair mean? Like, like unless you're Geralt, white hair means one thing. We don't see it anyone else.
Right.
So it's kind of a significant thing. So, but and then I can't even find half these people in here. The dwarf girl's name is Meldoff, by the way. I did get that one.
Meldoff. Cool. All right. So then we have another scene here with three of them, two of the men and one of the women, just kind of standing, like walking through an area. And you can see a little bit more of their costumes now that it's zoomed out from some of the other characters. But they all seem to have like a primary color. Like one of them is wearing white with a blue like thing tied around his waist, and then this lady's wearing red, and this guy's wearing green. So it's like they're superheroes. Well, they all have their own colors, like Power Rangers.
They're just superheroes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're Power Rangers. And then we have big mean guy. So he's there. Why don't we play a little bit more? Here we go.
An unstoppable empire.
This is the future under the Empire. We need to rise up.
All right, so we have the call to rise up against the Empire and examples of like, this is what the Empire does with more beating up people, armies marching through towns. The second woman that we pointed out from the beginning is the one calling out. It seems like that's her still. She's calling that we need to rise up. So maybe she's in charge of that or something.
Yeah, they're like inciting a rebellion.
Yeah.
Essentially is what it seems like. So.
Yeah. Or at least some of this group is inciting a rebellion, and some of the group gets tied together with them for their own reasons or whatever. It feels like very much like a Dungeons and Dragons party where everybody kind of has their own agenda, but they all have to work together in order to get where they want to go. That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's the feeling I get here. We get another picture of the city. We have fighting and a bunch of fire at night, and then another picture of the city, but it's very brief. And that's right there in that scene here. I'm pulling it back on the screen.
Yeah, I was like, is it on the screen?
This scene right here is the main character with this, well, almost looks like a samurai sword, but it's not quite as curved.
I think it's a scimitar. I believe it's a scimitar.
Yeah, and she's doing some sort of like sword, I don't know, movement. The kind of stuff you practice when you're a swords person, I guess. But then we have before that the scene of the city and there's like a bunch of smoke or dust coming out and what looks like some buildings burning.
Yeah, it looks like there's buildings burning off here in the edge. Like I'm assuming that like this is where it's like weird to say, but it seems like might be where they're inciting the rebellion.
Yeah.
So and so it makes, again, it poses questions like, what side are they fighting against? Because like I thought like the one dude was not part of this empire, but like if they're inciting rebellion in this particular location and he's somewhere else, or he's associated with a different faction that's in the empire. So
yeah, I guess we'll have to see who the king looking guy at the beginning actually is associated with. I don't know that we know for sure that.
We need to figure out who he is, because I don't think he's significant, because like we will see things in here of who is apparently the Empress. And so either he's like, it's an emperor and an empress, or she's just the empress and in charge, and he's like, I don't know, some vassal or something.
All right. Well, hey, tell you what, we're already a good bit into the show. Why don't we go thank our patrons, and then we'll continue with the rest of this, because I feel like the rest of this should move a little bit faster now that we've got kind of through the introduction bits. So we'll be right back.
Very well. Let us get this over with. Something has infested my vineyard.
Great. Let me go prepare my something oil then.
All right, here we are in the middle of the show, and thank you guys for hanging out and checking out all this stuff that we're into. I hope you guys are excited about this as well. And we are usually welcoming new patrons on right now, but we don't have any new patrons this week. So thank you to all of our current and existing patrons, all 17 of you, including our higher vampire tier patrons, Ben of Temeria and Jared M. Thank you to you guys. Also, normally we would read out a review, but there's no new reviews this week either. So if you'd like to leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it out on the future episodes of the show. And if you want to give us a rating on Spotify, that's also helpful as well. So, man, words are hard. I'm not going to hit the button. But let's, that's really not a whole lot to say here in the middle of the show. Thanks for being here. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Let's move on with the rest of the episode.
You smell of death and destiny, heroics and heartbreak.
It's onion.
Right, yeah.
All right, so we're back, and we're back to the scene with the woman and the scimitar, or a falchion, like Rob in chat says. Maybe it's one of those. And Billy Badbottom also points out that building in the background looks like it might be the same building that Scary Magic Dude is standing on and talking down to the masses from. So that might actually be the case as well. So
yeah, it seems like that kind of like one of those locations has got like that open part where you can come look down upon like all of your subjects or like address them or something. So yeah, I'm assuming that's where we keep seeing that, but like, or seeing that portion of him talking. Yeah.
It also looks more like a temple than a place where the king lives or something like that, like a castle. It looks more like a temple. So I have to wonder if this guy is in charge of part of the religious aspects of this community, and maybe the king is somebody else, right? Like maybe there's a rift between the two of them, or maybe they're working together and he's manipulating the populace, something like that. All right, let's get to the rest of this. Here we go.
What is that thing?
My beast has done well.
All right, so we get everybody looking around, hearing scary monster sounds, and then Priest Dude, his face, but he's not actually speaking it, and we hear, "My beast has done well."
Yeah, so like, I mean, this is some monster.
Some sort of monster. Is he summoning monsters into the world? Is that what's happening here? In order to put down the rebellion, maybe? Something like that?
Yeah, so like we hear like an eagle-like screech, and then like we hear like wings flapping. They don't show us anything. And then he says, "My beast has done well." We have to assume this is his beast, right? And they're all like puzzled, like, what is that? So they've obviously they've never seen something like it before. So, and he's calling it like a beast rather than like, anything like you call something that you don't really like know about much. So to assume this is some sort of like flying monster, maybe like
a dragon.
My guesses are like, I don't think so, because it sounds like a bird. But my thought goes like griffin or like cockatrice
or like a wyvern, maybe even. With just a variety of different sounds it makes.
Yeah, and I'm assuming we're going to see, because we know that they like have gone, like they've been doing kind of like mutating monsters, like they have like an evolutionary process. So this is probably some like predecessor monster to like griffins or cockatrices or wyverns or something that we see like in modern Witcher stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So monsters, even though the conjunction of the spheres hasn't happened yet, so the world isn't overrun with monsters yet.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe he's working ways in to summon them into this world, and this maybe goes on to further stuff. So let's continue this going. We'll keep it going because there's definitely some more details here we can pull together.
Or I'd kill you if we ever crossed paths again.
How can we trust each other?
By the blade. We have a chance if we do it together.
All right, so we've got the second elven lady, not the first one we're talking about with the runes on her head, but the second one that we talked about, and the beefy dude. And this whole little section here is about like, how can we trust each other? How can we work together? And then all of a sudden they're working together. So this feels like stuff that you get in the first episode where they're like, they don't trust each other because they come from different backgrounds, or there's some sort of beef, historical something, right?
It seems like there's some sort of beef. Well, they want us to, they're presenting that, obviously, which, because the clips are a little weird because, like, we see her saying, like, I thought if I saw you again, or I thought I said if I saw you again, I'd kill you, but it's like nighttime, and then he's responding during daytime. So it's like, is this actually them like talking to each other, or are these entirely like weird clips, and like we're getting misled here or something? But essentially, the idea of this, from what they're showing, is I guess they knew each other from before. They have some sort of conflict with each other. But they're forced to like work together on this and like have to like kind of come together, like get past their differences, and like, yeah, they're like warriors. So they're kind of like, we fight together, and that's how I can trust you, as if like we bring the fight.
And they're both totally kicking ass. Like they're beating dudes up. She's stabbing him. He's hitting him with his axe. Like there's just a bunch of them kicking butt here for parts of it. And different people, like in the city, some people out in the countryside. This guy in the scene right here that I have up, there's like a shack in the background with a bunch of bones hanging on the wall. So a lot of different, I have a feeling that these are probably pulled from, like, there's 4 episodes, so they're probably pulled from different sections of like the first few episodes or something.
Right.
So we just, again, it's hard to know what the story is yet to even piece together where these things are happening or what exactly is going on. All right, let's move on. Here we go.
We have a chance if we do it together.
The monoliths are causing tears between worlds. A gateway.
All right, so now we have the mention of the monoliths, the fact that they're tearing holes between worlds. A funky looking frog monster jumps out of a portal. So my assumption is Spooky Guy has something to do with setting up the monoliths, which he's been using to tap into the power of other worlds, which might be part of how he has more magic or something, and now is also summoning them in, right? Like,
yeah. So again, like, it's all guessing, but like I'm wondering if like this is kind of like an inciting incident for the conjunction of the spheres. Like this dude is like
the cause of it.
He found out the monoliths linked to other worlds. He's able to draw power from them, but then he essentially fucked around and found out, and like him tapping into the energy of the monoliths and other worlds somehow incites the conjunction of the spheres to happen.
Right.
Because of it.
Right.
Like, whether
he's the spark that sets off.
I'm assuming it's unintentional, but yeah, like the spark to happen.
Right. Messing with powers he didn't fully understand. And now this happens, this kind of thing. Now, I wonder, the monoliths look very new. I wonder if he created them or if they were already there somehow. What do you think?
I assume they were already there.
Because when we see them in the rest of the other Witcher series, they look all broken down and old, right? They look like they've been weathered and they're very old. When we see them here, they're very shiny. They're standing like where they look like they're supposed to be. They don't look like they've been unburied. They almost look like they were placed there for a reason.
Yeah, it's like it seems either that or they're like part of it and like or they came in like recently and then people kind of found out about them. But there's other stuff like there's a part later where there's a monolith and it's like there's an entire building built around it. So like they've obviously had to have been there for a decent amount of time.
Right.
So maybe he built them. The construction's weird, so I would be curious as to how he might have, because they look like they're not exactly natural rock formations, but they look like rock formations rather than a constructed thing.
Right. They're very smooth, almost like they were like refined by hand.
And the answer is aliens, Tom, obviously.
Aliens. All right, here, let's move on with it. We got more stuff.
The end of our world is upon us.
We need to use it beast against him. We merge the creature's power with one view.
Come on, big lad. We're only just getting started.
All right, so we'll stop it here. We have more monsters showing up. A big old looking centipede thing. The other creatures, spooky people just like hanging out in spooky places. And then basically they're alluding to like, this is why we created Witchers. It seems to be, but yet there's no humans around yet.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Right?
Right. They're saying like combining the beast with a person. Like, I don't know if this is like some weird, like early before conjunction attempt or something at like the same concept as a Witcher.
Right.
Yeah. There's obviously no humans.
Right. Well, we do have this one scene where it looks like Laura Dornan, if that's her, is standing in front of a portal with two of the others of them. Like, clearly she's important here. There's the Elder Blood thing. There's her importance in the whole series. So maybe this is the root of that. Maybe that ties in somehow.
Yeah, and it's like, but yeah, they're messing with portals now. Like we see portals coming up. So like they're using the portals to like bring in monsters, probably bring in like, it seems like they're also like messing with the monoliths and they're like able to like activate them. Which I guess would probably lend to your idea of him constructing them, because they light up with runes, including the same symbol on his staff. But did he make that staff with that symbol because of the monoliths?
Right.
Or did he put that like his arcane, I guess, symbol on the monolith? So
yeah, like the two are tied together. It's just which is the chicken and which is the egg, right?
Yeah,
that's really the question.
And I assume that this area right here is that like I feel like this is that big temple in the center of the city, maybe.
Oh, might be the inside of the temple.
Like the way it's built up, because the monoliths look so tall. Maybe it's built that way because it's surrounding it.
Right. Now, but again, like, was the monolith here and they built the building around it, or did they already have a building and they decided to put the monolith at the center?
Yeah.
Or did they just build it all together? Right. Like, it's hard to know.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. But then we get our favorite little new dwarven friend here for a little bit of it.
Come on, big lad. We're only just getting started.
And we get like the scene where she's like kicking butt with her hammer and slapping dudes on the butt, which is great.
Oh yeah. Also, no thing. I need you to go back. I missed it in my notes. I wasn't there yet. But there's like a brief little clip that we see right after she's like coming out of the water. 140, if you're wanting to get it precise. Where there is like guaranteed that's a Wild Hunt helmet, like in the dirt.
Oh, okay. So the thing in the dirt, you think that's a Wild Hunt helmet?
Yeah, because it looks like a skull at first, but then it has like those spikes here,
right?
Like, which was like they had made them like very like creepy, like skull grotesque things,
right?
With like the kind of weird crown looking thing. I think that's a Wild Hunt helmet, because it also looks like it's not bone. exactly.
Right. Like it's been, yeah. Man, it creates so many questions. Like, I feel like everything's just out of order, right? Like, unless what we see at the end where they're reaching out to Jaskier is we actually get more events in current times than what we think we're seeing in this trailer. Like, what if this helmet is something that was dug up in current times from things that happened 1,200 years ago?
Yeah.
And this is proof of some of the things that happened back then, right? And so that's what we're actually seeing here, is not things that happened. Like this helmet they didn't find 1,200 years ago buried, because that creates a weird, like, how did the Wild Hunt, why were they even around before this? There's no conjunction yet. Why would they be coming? But if all of this leads to the conjunction and the Wild Hunt shows up and then they end up having to fight the Wild Hunt or something like that, and some of the soldiers of the Wild Hunt or whoever end up getting killed, and then their helmet gets buried, and then 1,200 years later somebody digs it back up, that would totally make sense.
We know that the A&L jumped off world, right? Like the Anansi stay, the A&L jumped off world, and it looks like, just based off of like the imagery of that part, like I know it's not a lot to go on, but the lighting on that like particular like picture of the Wild Hunt helmet or whatever, the lighting is very reminiscent of like when Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri got sucked into the portal at the end of season 2, and we're in that world briefly that was like very like red. It's like a red tinged
sepia tone kind of thing.
Yeah, the red is like very reminiscent of that, and so like we know that they're there, and like that the A&L used the unicorns to like raid other worlds because like they were so.
Do you think we're gonna see unicorns? We're gonna see.
We can hope.
Evil elves riding unicorns. Oh man!
I mean, you could hope.
I mean,
I would want unicorns. You know,
yeah, that would be amazing.
I want to see a unicorn, and then like the part right after that also is that we see what I think is antagonistic mage dude. He's like summoning fire in his hand.
You think that's the bad guy? I think that's actually one of the good guys. I think that's. I mean, look at his face. He's got
rings on his fingers, and we know the bad mage dude's been dripped out this whole time. He's got the rings on his hand.
Maybe it's the color of the fire in his hand that's changing the color of his skin and his beard, but he looks more fair-skinned and red-haired. But maybe that's because of the flame.
I think it's the flame, because like I'm basing it just off the ring on his thumb. That like we've only seen that on the bad mage.
Okay, yeah, no, that could be
it looks like he's like he's pulling his hand up in like a way of like, what am I doing? Like as if
like, oh, look at this fire in my hand. Like
fire
the first
magic
time
before.
Like
this is the first time he's doing it.
Right.
So somehow like whatever he does, he somehow learns, which may also lead to problems, because we know that fire magic consumes at the user of it, which can lead to terrible things.
All right, here, let's move on with this. We still got more to do.
Come on, big lad. We're only just getting started.
All right, so we have the dwarf lady scenes, and then we ended up here.
To the end.
To the end. There'll be no coming back.
All right, so here, we'll pause it there. Got kind of this montage of battle, power being summoned in one of the big old pillars. Looks like it's lighting up and glowing. We got a variety of different stuff that happens here. Anything specific you want to point out?
Just one, I'm wondering if like the Empress is like some sort of like puppet in this thing, because she's out on the street. Like we see her, we see this lady that's got kind of like this weird like net hair thing going on, like real fancy like. We saw her, and like that is confirmed that is like Empress Merwin or something, I believe her name is. And then we see her out in the street, like as if she's, I guess, running. So maybe she's been a puppet and doesn't know what's going on, and like bad mage dude is like running things instead of her or something.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, we're seeing some magic here. We see a lot of fighting. It seems like our two main characters that aren't Sion are like
falling in love
romantically in table. Yeah,
right. There's like a
moment where
they look like they're underground, and he doesn't have a shirt on and they're going to kiss or something.
That's an about to kiss moment right there. So it's like, I guess we can rely on the romance will be there.
Right. But then we have Laura Dern. Why did I say Dernan? With her hands up and she's like straining. Is this this looks like one of those like climactic moments of the series, right? Like this looks like an episode 4. She's trying to close the portals before they consume the whole world or whatever, something like that.
Yeah. So I guess like it's hard to tell. Like he was looking at her and I'm like, it doesn't look like her, but does it look like her? And I can't find a picture that like looks like her on IMDb. So I'm like, I don't know who this is. This character is.
Right. We also have this scene right here with it looks like we're looking at a door with a bunch of light.
Like they're about to fight the Balrog.
Fire? Yeah, like a giant door's about to open, and we get like, I don't know, 5 frames. That's it. Like this is a very, very quick little glimpse here of some figure standing in front of this glowy door as the light comes, through the seam of the door. The 2 doors almost like opening together.
And I'm wondering, like, because it looks like fire. Yeah. Like the way it's like glowing through. I'm wondering if like this is an example, like we're gonna see it like immediately of like the bad mage is like, I learned how to use fire. I'm gonna use it against my enemies, and then immediately it got flipped on him, and the fire was like, no, I'm gonna use you, buddy, and it's going out of control.
yeah, potentially. So then we have the little title sequence here, The Witcher Blood Origin, with that symbol in the middle between blood and origin, right? And then we have the end of it.
You're a bard. I am a storyteller. I need you to sing a story back to life.
Are you sure you've got the right man for this?
All right, so that's the Jaskier moment here at the end. And it starts with like a rock table out in the woods. It looks like some sort of shrine with a lute on it. And then an elven woman and Jaskier looking super dirty, like he was dragged through the mud or something. Mm-hmm. And her saying, I need you to tell a story back to life. What does that mean?
I don't like.
So maybe he's the storyteller. Maybe he's the one telling us everything that's happening in this. Like maybe this is the bookend. Maybe this is the Princess Bride where Fred Savage is sitting on his bed and his grandfather's telling him the story, right? Like, and then this is going to be like all right, well here, this is the story. And then maybe it's a magical lute and the lute brings the events back to life. What does that even mean?
I don't know. Like if it's like some dead tale that hasn't been heard and like it's like time to hear it or something again. Like I don't know. But I don't think this is in the same time frame like we were talking about earlier. I think this is modern day, current day. This elf woman finds him for some reason, maybe even teleports him here. She's some mage or something. And he's all like, what is going on? And then this becomes the beginning of each episode has, yes, you're telling a story or something like that. Yeah, I think so. This is probably I feel like this is probably like the start of this series or something.
Right. And then we're going to see them at the end of each episode or like just at the very beginning. And then at the end of the 4th episode where they're like, all right, can I go now? I told your story. And then we get a hint at like, this plays into season 3 of The Witcher or something
probably,
like that. Yeah.
It's probably like a meta way of like prepping us for season 3 or something. Like
probably. I mean, I feel like we've joked about it, the Witcher cinematic universe, but that's basically what they're doing here is they're trying to tie all this stuff together with the same writers, which explains some of the reason why the writers are diverging so much from the original material is that they're trying to work in extra stuff and they're trying to make it all work together. And so they feel like they need more control over the material rather than sticking to the book canon. So that might be part of it as well.
Yeah. It does seem, that they're, this is like I think this was their way of explaining the changes, like the stuff that they added to the story and like how it affects everything, while also being able to be like, hey, like we can still make, or we can also make money off of this because people are going to watch it because it's Witcher related, you know? So like,
sure. Well, what's a fun way?
It's like doing they introduced the monoliths, they introduced like how the portals work and whatnot, and now they're like, here's this whole like 4 episode event thing that we're doing that explains exactly what the monoliths are and how they affected the conjunction of the spheres, you know? Like,
yeah, that totally makes sense. Well, I mean, as with all of this stuff, I hope it's good. I hope the writing's good. The action looks fun. The characters look fun. There are definitely some tropes and some stereotypes, but tropes and stereotypes in literature are only terrible if they're not done well. Like, it's hard to avoid that, right? So on some level, if the acting is charismatic and the writing is good enough, then who knows? Maybe it's good. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, and it also is at least, it's still nice to see that they're still continuing with the idea of like, you know, because I mean, like we get to see for this, so it seems like we have 2 women leads. So they're like, you know, they're still pushing like, and they're both very effective, very strong warriors. So it's like, we're still pushing the idea of like super powerful women in this stuff or whatever, which, you know, at least that holds true to the spirit of the books. Yeah. You know, even if they won't follow the storyline, the spirit is still kind of there for some things.
Yeah. And powerful characters all across the board, and, you know, diabolical characters and, you know, funny characters like that. Like, you know, they're pulling that all over the place. Like, I think that there's just, it still feels like it's part of the same thing, even if it isn't book lore. Right. So that's cool. Well, this has been fun. This is, I think we've got some more mysteries to uncover, and you've got some words to try to translate. So we're going to update people with those if you find anything out on future episodes. So come back for that. And Toasty, you got anything else going on you want to share?
As usual, follow us at the Witcher Lorecast on Twitter. I also do the Cyberpunk Lorecast with Genesis. We live stream on Thursdays at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
Math. You got to do math.
Yeah. I was like, how does do math? I don't live in either of those time zones. And then I also do the Cyberpunk Red Actual Play podcast with the almighty Crit and Fumbling 4 gang. Cyberpunk 'D. If you're interested in checking out either of those.
Nice. Yeah, and all my stuff, I do a bunch of lore shows, lorecasts for all sorts of things. Go to robotsradio.net for those shows that he mentioned, the rest of my shows, anything else that you might be interested in. That's where you can find it. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for being here. Chat, thank you for being here. Love all the comments and stuff. And we will see you guys next Monday for next week's episode. Until then,
stay safe on the path.
See you guys later. Thanks for tuning into the Witcher Lorecast. We'd love to hear about your experiences with the games and the books and the TV series and all your thoughts on everything. Please check out the Robots Radio Discord and follow us on Twitter at Witcher Lorecast.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.